First day.
Thank you very much. Indeed, joined by Hanser. After kind of a false start to the tournament this morning, you guys did manage to get a win on the books. How important is it for you guys' confidence that you get this first win?
The first one's really important to us because it kind of raises our morale. Our first game didn't go too well, and we made a lot of mistakes. So being able to pull out a victory against like what seems is like a better region, like a team from a better region, it really gave us a lot of confidence going forward next matches.
Well, definitely. And you guys also changed strategies up. It was all about you. You had to carry also on that cannon. Why this time, this strategy?
Yeah, after the game versus GAM, we realized that those types of comps, like the Protect the AD, were kind of not our style and were difficult for us to pull off as a team. And so we resorted to playing like more of a split push 1-3-1 comp, and that more suited our style because Soren and I are like more of the vocal leaders on the team, and if we have like pressure in our lanes, then we can set more plays on the map and stuff like that. And yeah, they just gave us like an OP pick, so.
Well, you guys did really well, and if you look at the whole day, a 1-1 finish is quite good going into tomorrow, but you have SKT and the Flash Wolves. Now, the Flash Wolves, they did suffer a couple of losses today, so how are you looking towards tomorrow? What are the main working points and the possibilities there?
So tomorrow will probably be our hardest day yet because SKT probably the best team here so far, and Flash Wolves, even though they lost 2 games, right? I still think they're one of the top contenders for this tournament, and they're not a team that we can underestimate just because they lost the first 2 games, because we scrimmed them a lot, and we know they're very strong, so we're not going to take them lightly.
Well, we will see what happens tomorrow. Congratulations, 1-1 on the day for Hanser and TSM. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Hanser and the rest of TSM can be proud of that victory there, doing kind of what we had expected them from the get-go, and really putting strong laners into that top and mid lane along with Svenskeren, putting a lot of resources where I wanted to go with that, and then I said lanes. Anyway,
no,
we get that Kennen, we get the Talia, and we get the Lee Sin. Very strong side, top side of the map.
I mean, it basically followed the standard TSM rubric. This is exactly the TSM we expected to see. Finally see the Kennen from Haunter, so it is more on the carry side of things. Big success there. In the jungle, Svenskeren on the Lee Sin, definitely his biggest pick. He's good at conceptualizing fights on that champion. And then you go into the mid lane. Bjergsen is on a playmaker. The Talia walls here, I think, were the true MVP. Obviously doesn't contribute to KDAs or even kills, but the objectives it picked up separate the teams. So big pass marks, basically minimizing the bot lane, maximizing the play around the top side of the map. Worked a treat.
And while I will say, like, I definitely prefer this draft for TSM than the previous one, a lot of it just came down to better play. I think they made a lot less mistakes. Hanser, while he had help getting in the advantages, he did not throw it away. He's never getting caught out. I think TSM played a relatively clean game in the bot lane. While they got put behind, they were not bleeding objectives. They were not bleeding kills. And I think that we need to see TSM playing better like this, but they still did have some pretty risky plays, especially around Baron, that could have gone sideways.
Yeah, very much so. We'll get to that one. Before we do, I want to go and take a look at the dive in the bot lane. 23 minutes in. This is Hanser as well as Svenskeren teaming up for a kill here on 9-5-7.
And so you see that the dive is going down, but what I want you to do is look at the rest of the map and check out where Ashe, Nami, and Elise are. Nothing else is happening there. It's that in a situation like this, when you expend so many resources to dive someone repeatedly, because 957 was 100% all of their
5 of their devs.
Like, something needs to be traded for your top laner's life. Like, don't let this guy die in vain. He has a family.
And out of context, it's not like 957 was just purely overextending. I think he was quite respectful.
Super safe.
He was getting dove about as aggressively as possible. I don't think he was in any way chain feeding. It was just TSM playing very smartly around where they were strong.
He was basically back at his Indian turret.
Sure,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing more you can ask of the guy.
To be fair for WE, they were getting cannon minions, which were worth about the same as 957 was 5 deaths in. So that trade is great,
I mean, TSM maximized where they were strong, and it felt like WE got nothing where they were strong. So that's why you could look at TSM, and it's a TSM focus point. You're like, very smart player. You don't necessarily just wag your finger at 957. There's nothing else he could have done.
To be fair, as far as WE not getting anything that they're strong with, I think that this is a comp that they're pretty comfortable with. You talked about this is comfortable that they play a lot, and I think that Mystic, one of his best champions, is his Ashe. They had a pick to enable him, and they had a comp to build around him, but some of their itemization choices were kind of strange. And when you fall that far behind in the split push, it's hard to ever get them to take that 5-on-5 fight that you want.
But this is classic WE. Like, I really want to underline people coming into this tournament, they play like this 80% of the time. This was that marathon team that we were talking about at the start of the day, and seeing them across from Flash Wolves when they came out like hot and heavy there, that's like the 20% of the time. Like, that's the WE that you're treated to. But Mystic, they open up free lanes, and then they just stick them in a lane, and they just farm. And you can't do that in a competitive game. It works in the LPL because most of the teams aren't organized enough, come mid-game that, hey, their AD carry's just sitting down there farming. There's no one going to be to rotate. Like, let's take objectives. They just A-ram straight into mid lane and, like, throw away advantages.
Right.
And this is why I was so scared facing a team like TSM. I said at the very beginning, if I hadn't seen WE's performance against Flash Wolves, I would have picked TSM to win this, because stylistically, I think that they're going to be able to punish in that mid game. So WE, they need to switch back over to 20% of the time.
Right, you can't make those kinds of concession after concession after concession against teams that understand the macro game. And TSM, if there's one thing they have shown us, even with individual misplays and such, they do understand the macro game. And with a lead, they can execute. Now, all of that said, when it came to the first Baron of the game, TSM made a risky call, and well, it did pay off. So let's take another look, brought to you by Acer.
And the timing on this is significant. As you say, there is an element of risk, but the Weaver's Wall, perfect. The evolution of the Weaver's Wall, not a gap closer, more about the permanent terrain here. And they rush it down, and they commit to it. And we didn't see this necessarily in earlier games today. I remember KT Rolster also having these very close Baron plays, actually committing and running it down. Opened up a lot of their leads. It got their big split push advantage with Baron buff as well. So I do like when you have a chance to creep through a wall, when you have a real chance, they actually go and commit to it. So I actually applaud them for finishing the Baron.
And I mean, this is something that we saw Flash Wolves fail to do time and time again against G2. They weren't willing to make that risky play. And I think the Weaver's Wall, when I saw that, I was like, great, they got the Baron, but are they going to get aced afterwards? And the fact that they were able to not only get the Baron, get a kill, and Sven Skarny, the whole team gets out, I think was pretty massive for
Now, does this instill confidence in you for the remainder of the tournament for TSM? Again, I mean, I know we're operating off of 2 games. It's a lot to ask, but showing that they at least have made this adjustment away from the play style of the first game to the second game, and even Wild Turtle and Biofrost separate from that first death, largely showing that they can also slot into this playstyle and understand their role.
I think personally, a lot of the points that Crepo brought up in the cast as far as, can they find the champions to keep enabling Haunter to do this? Can they actually get the kind of picks? Because if you can't run a Protect the AD carry composition, you are limited. They don't have to ban those against you. You still have to ban those kind of champions against your opponents, and you could be very pigeonholed in the draft. So I think a lot of it comes down to that, and honestly, it's too early to predict. We've seen, WE beat Flash Wolves, who's supposed to be one of the top teams, then lose to TSM, who lost to Gigabyte Marines, who's supposed to be the worst team in the tournament. So it's like everyone is everywhere besides SKT, who's still clearly the best.
And makes Azael go beside himself. Yeah. Well, at the end of the first day of competition here in Rio, just one team is riding high, undefeated. Spoiler alert, it's SK Telecom T1, as Azael just mentioned. TSM, Team WE, Gigabyte Marines, and G2 Esports have all secured a win. That leaves the LMS's Flash Wolves mired at 0-2. Very unexpected here. Again, pretty much across the board. Now, the MSI group stage continues tomorrow here at the Jeunesse Arena with 6 more games. Tomorrow, the day starts with North American representative TSM facing off against the reigning world champions in SK Telecom. Then the Gigabyte Marines will get a shot at the Flash Wolves before Europe's G2 Esports go head-to-head with the LPL's Team WE. 6 big games tomorrow. What's the big one that you're looking at, Pop Smithy?
I'm actually just looking more generally because I feel like we're no closer to knowing who the top 4 regions are, because there's so much parity and because you have to kind of also expect the Flash Wolves to come back strongly. Sure, it might still be SKT the champions, but everything else is really up in the air, and maybe that will finally start to settle tomorrow.
The scary thing for me, though, is that as the Flash Wolves are kind of getting pulled closer to that middle of the pack that we kind of set up in our power rankings, that just opens up the gap further and further between SKT and, second best. This feels like this podium is like so disproportionate right now.
And maybe that's true, but again, remember that the regions are playing for that first seed status, for the top 4 being such a big win. And we already mentioned GPL getting that big bump by the fact that we're going to see a guaranteed spot into the group stages for that region. it is also this other meta game that's being played. So there's more to it than just SKT maybe being a step ahead.
Right. Step 1, get top 4, secure that pool 1 seed. Step 2, win the tournament. Now, within that kind of format or this idea in terms of tiers of success within the tournament, do you feel that teams should be relying more on what they were successful with domestically, or are they going to have to evolve to the meta trends as they develop here? I mean, we saw lots of different play styles both be successful and unsuccessful today. I can't say that we've maybe specifically landed on a best way to play in this tournament just yet.
I mean, I think you have to always be able to evolve, but you have to find what fits your play style from the regional, from the regional games within the new meta, right? There's lots of new champions that you can play. There's lots of styles you can play. You have to find what works for you, and I think stick to that.
And it'll be a tournament meta. There's always a tournament. It's one of my favorite things is sure, leagues have those iterations, the longer patch times. A tournament meta always delivers. It always evolves, and we still don't really have that many trends over the first day. So just like the standings are all over the place, the meta is all over the place as well. And we haven't even seen the best teams with the strongest bot lanes play Protect the Kog'Maw, Protect the Twitch, which we may see as a dominant strategy moving forward, and especially in the best-of-5 phase.
And while I agree with Papa Smithy, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, we've also seen at these tournaments that there are those few teams that are just so good at that one individual style. You think back to like the Starhorn Royal clubs, where they can get away with having these deficits elsewhere just because they're really good at that one thing. So maybe it's the Gigabyte Marines this time around.
All right, still a lot left to be decided. This is all going to start tomorrow at 3 p.m. local time. That's 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time and 11 a.m. Pacific. Until then, it's time to dim the lights on opening day of the 2017 Mid-Season Invitational Group Stage. Thank you all for tuning in, and good night.